Good evening, Purple family. Welcome to another episode of Shades of Purple, a Prince podcast. On tonight's episode, I will be discussing and reviewing my top 10 B-side hits from Prince. So let's get right into it. So for those who don't know, a B-side in the vinyl era was considered to be a song that was placed on the back of a maxi single. The A-side, the front side, was a song which was intended to be the hit. In the CD era, it's often referred to as a song that was a part of a maxi CD single but wasn't meant for the charts. So there are three different types of B-side that exist. The first kind is a different version of the A-side song. So like an acoustic version or instrumental version or some type of remix. Another song, a second type of B-side, is another song coming from the same album the A-side stemmed from. So that's mostly what Prince did. It was like a completely different song. Finally, the third type of B-side is a song that wasn't released on an album, making it exclusively available on the maxed single. So he did both of those. He did another song that was on the same album that the A-side stemmed from, and he did B-sides that were songs that wasn't released on the album but made it exclusively available on a max single. Now in 1993, of course, when he was going through that dispute with Warner Brothers about the ownership of his music, Warner Brothers actually put out a 3-disc set called the B-side hits. Also, they had some unreleased songs, Peach, and I think Pink Cashmere was on there. But they also put out a lot of his B-sides, such as 17 Days and Irresistible Bitch and She's Always in My Hair, which are all, of course, on my top 10. So that particular album wasn't something that Prince really wanted done, because Prince was under the impression that anytime an artist did an album, like a greatest hits album, that they were pretty much kind of washed up and done. So at that time, he didn't really even like the concept of a greatest hits album. So actually, it's said that Warner Brothers actually paid him to just stay away from the project. So I think they paid him like $1 million, I believe. And the only thing he did was he took the pictures, like those pictures of him with the cane and the kind of like the black lace get up and the black and white pictures. Those are the pictures that he took for the B-side hits compilation cover. That's pretty much all he did. I think he did have some kind of, they allowed him to decide which B-sides he wanted on there, but only to a certain extent, because like I said, he really didn't have a whole lot to do with this album, because it was kind of not something that he was interested in doing. Because like I said, at this time, Prince was just like, I'm not washed up, I'm not done, so why are you doing and then he didn't really like to go back and look at, his older material, especially when, like I said, this was the time where he was getting ready to become the symbol. He was no longer using Prince by 1993 when this came out. So he was the symbol. So he did not like to look back on his time as Prince. And it was during this time, from 93 to 95 especially, that was the height of the symbol era. And so he would only do, when he did his concerts, his overseas concerts called The Experience. I can't remember what it's called. It was called The Experience something. Interactive Experience. Y'all know that song, Interactive. But I think it was called, I can't remember what those concerts were called. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, the concerts that he did were, people were expecting, for Prince to do his hits like Little Red Corvette and Purple Rain and all that. Well, the symbol was just no, I'm going to do the music that I want to do, my new songs. And so I believe that particular tour, wasn't, from what I understand, it wasn't the most successful tour as far as money wise, because he was just so focused on wanting to do, his songs as the symbol. He was really trying to get as far away as possible from Prince, his namesake, because of the dispute that he was having with Warner Brothers at this time. So, sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent. I just wanted y'all to know that, kind of set up kind of the atmosphere for that particular album. And but B-sides was something that a lot of artists, especially in the 80s and 70s, back when vinyl was popular, that was just a thing that you would do. And even on cassette, I remember, I'm old enough to remember when we had cassettes before CDs came out. And I, specifically remember listening to cassettes, and you would have an A side and then you would have a B side. And so a lot of times with the cassettes, though, the B side was just a continuation of the album. But other times, earlier times when vinyl was more popular, the B sides would be sometimes completely different songs, or, like I said, the definition, remixes of the same songs that were on the A side. But Prince is probably one of the artists probably most well known for his B-sides because they were just so incredibly great. I mean, all of his B-sides, I would say, could be A-sides easily. And a lot of his B-sides are better than a lot of other artists' A-sides, in my opinion. And, being, of course, if you're listening to this podcast, of course, I know you agree with that, being a Prince fan, or fam, as we like to say. So let's just go right into it. I do have a top 10, and I'm going to start with number 10. So on number 10, I have the song Hello, which the A side is Pop Life on Around the World in a Day. So I chose Hello to start off the countdown because Hello is one of those, I think, really, if you can say a B-side would be underrated, I would say that Hello would be underrated. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people don't like Hello, but I think because it's more of a explanation type of song. It's not really a poppy song. It's not really a song that you can necessarily dance to. It's not like that. Like some of his other B-sides are really poppy or really danceable beats to them. But Hello is just pretty much an explanation song. So Hello stems from the incident, the We Are the World incident is what most people like to call it. So, of course, Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie, during the American Music Awards back in 1985, they decided to get together and record We Are the World, which is basically just like a way for all of the artists to get together and raise money for aid in Africa, for help, starving kids in Africa, that type of thing. And it was a song, and like I said, I'm not a very big fan of the song We Are the World. Like, I have no problems, with the actual charity and, what they were trying to accomplish with feeding kids in Africa. That's great. That's wonderful. But the song itself is just, Even Cyndi Lauper would say that she didn't like the song either. And she is predominantly on the song as well. I mean, and there were some lot of heavy hitters on the song. Like you had Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, Cyndi Lauper, Diana Ross. Sheila E. was also there, and she kind of, I guess, filled in for Prince to a certain extent. But, I mean, there was a lot. Bruce Springsteen. Let me think who else. Like, really, some really, really heavy hitters in the music industry that all came together on the night of the American Music Awards to do this recording session. And Prince was expected to be among them. However, Prince decided to not participate, not because he didn't believe in the charitable event, but because he just did not want to be around all those people. He really admired a lot of those people, but Prince was always the type that anytime that he would record, even for himself, he didn't like anybody in the studio with him. He would even make the engineers leave because he really liked to do his vocals alone. And so when he was talking to Quincy Jones and Lionel Richie would later say in an interview with Jimmy Kimmel that, he really tried to get Prince to come. He was just like, Prince, we need you to come, man. And Prince was just like, first he asked about, well, can I do a guitar solo? And Lionel told him, no, we don't need a guitar solo. And then he said, well, how about can I be in a booth by myself? And he was like, no, we're all leaving our egos at the door. So we just need you to come. So finally, Prince was just like, look, man, I can't do this. And so, of course, Lionel and Quincy Jones were, of course, very disappointed. But, they couldn't force him to come. But, however, that same night, his manager had told him, look, if you're not going to participate in this We Are the World recording session, don't go out. don't go to a club or something like that because that's going to just make you look bad. So, of course, Prince did not listen, and he went out to this club. I believe it was called, I want to say Charming Charlie's, but I know that's not. It was Charlie something. And him and Jill Jones went out for a little while, and when they were getting ready to leave, there was I guess a paparazzi who tried to take pictures and climb into the limousine with Prince and Jill Jones. And so, rightly so, one of Prince's bodyguards snatched his ass up out of the car and ended up breaking his camera. And so there was kind of like, I think, like a little scuffle that happened, and the bodyguard ended up getting arrested. And so the next night on Saturday Night Live, or the next week on Saturday Night Live, they kind of poked fun at Prince. And I think it was it Chevy Chase that acted like he was Prince, and they were singing, he was singing, oh, it's all about me, it's about me. Like they were doing the We Are the World, it's all about me. I have to find it. I think it's on YouTube. I'll have to upload it if I can find it. But anyway, Prince thought that was funny, but he knew that he was about to get like a buttload of just bad press. And that's exactly what happened. So in response to the bad press that he got, he did the B-side Hello. Just kind of explaining like, look, there are children here that we need to help, that are starving. And that's true, And so what he ended up doing, he did the song, but he also did another song, For the Tears in Your Eyes, which he donated to the Aid to Africa organization and for the We Are the World album. So he did do a song for the album, even though he did not participate in We Are the World. And Hello was just a song to say, hey, look, this is what happened from my perspective and what I think about what happened that night. And so a lot of people think that, he was kind of being, an ass and should have participated. But for those of us who really understand the type of person Prince was, that was never going to happen. And also, of course, he wasn't a big fan of Michael at this time either, after what happened with, him and James Brown and Michael Jackson. So, just 2 years prior to this. So, it was just a combination of he didn't want to, be in the room with all those people that he really, admired, honestly, but it just wasn't his thing, and so he wanted to try to do something else. And so as I've already talked about how charitable Prince was. So it wasn't the fact that he didn't care about the children in Africa or anything like that, because Prince was very much a philanthropist, fierce philanthropist, as I've already stated. But, anyway, moving on. So that is Hello. I just wanted to try to give you guys a little bit of background. Sorry if I kind of seemed like I was rambling there, but I just wanted you guys to just know that where he was coming from with the song Hello was that he was just trying to explain his side of the story. So, moving on. So, number 9, I have Violet the Organ Grinder, which the A side is, not surprisingly, Get Off, which was on was it on Diamonds and Pearls? Yes, wasn't it? Diamonds and Pearls. Diamonds and Pearls and the Love Symbol album, because they're so close together, so sometimes I can't remember if Get Off, I believe Get Off is on Diamonds and Pearls. Forgive me, y'all. I can just hear y'all now. How are you supposed to be a Prince podcaster and don't know that? Sometimes, like I said, I listen to Prince so much, and sometimes I don't always pay attention to, I'll pay attention more so to the songs than I do the albums that they're on, which I know that's crazy. But anyway, Violet the Organ Grinder, he actually did a whole video for this. And the video was just kind of very similar to Get Off. Get Off was inspired by the movie Caligula, which, if you guys have never seen that movie Caligula, oh my God. It was banned, in the United States for a time because it was so sexually explicit. So Caligula is about this Roman emperor who was very sexually debauched. And I mean, it just has all this just nastiness and sexual debauchery. And, people like, orgies and things like that. So Violet the Organ Grinder is kind of like, Prince is kind of playing this character similar to Caligula. Because he's got the chains, he's got the blindfold at one point, and then he's, doing all the gyrations with his hips and stuff like that. And the song is a really sexy song. And then he has this famous line where he says, "I'll die, but I won't go away." And now that Prince has, since he has transitioned, that is very much the case. He has died, but he will never go away. And I think that's probably, now looking back, that's probably my biggest takeaway from that song. And I really do like the song. It's just one of those songs that, one of his, sexy songs, kind of like Get Off in a way, kind of raunchy, but it's a fun song. So moving on, my number 8 is 200 Balloons, the A-side being Bat Dance. Now, I'm a big fan of the whole Batman soundtrack album. I really like a majority of the songs on the album, and I'm really kind of wishing that 200 Balloons was an A-side because it's such a fun song, and it really goes with a lot of the themes of the Batman movie. Of course, the big scene with the Joker, of course, played by Jack Nicholson, and he has the balloons, and I think, if I can remember correctly, he uses the balloons to like poison people or poison the city or whatever. And so he has a whole bunch of these balloons. And I guess that's where that concept comes from, the 200 balloons. But I really like the song. It's another kind of like fun song, jam song. And he makes reference to the song in Bat Dance. And I want to say in Party Man too, I believe. So it's one of those songs. It's a fast-paced song, kind of like Bat Dance. And I think that had it been put out, I think it probably would have been put on the soundtrack. I think that it would have done just as good as Party Man and Bat Dance because it's in the same vein as those other songs. So moving on, number 7 is Another Lonely Christmas, which the A-side is I Will Die For You on Purple Rain album. So Another Lonely Christmas is really the only Christmas song that I think Prince has ever done. And I think that it's very telling that it's a Christmas song that's kind of, it is a sad Christmas song. And that got me to thinking about something that his engineer, Susan Rogers, had said around the time of Purple Rain. The fact that, they were working on music Christmas Eve and into Christmas Day. And the fact that, nobody really came, to Prince's house, or he didn't have people over. And so for Susan, that really stood out to her because, Christmas is about family and about being around your family and all that. And Prince didn't really have any of that for Christmas. And so that makes me think that that's what maybe wanted him to write a song like this, because he didn't really have family or anybody around him during this festive holiday season. And so for him to turn this, so for him, Christmas is not a happy season. It's a very lonely time of year. And it is for a lot of people. The holidays give a lot of people anxiety because, especially if they don't have, close family or friends that they can, spend time with during the holiday season. And that was the case, I think, for Prince. And that's what caused him to write a song like this about the holiday season. Because, of course, in the song, his love interest in the song, of course, dies, which is really sad. It's just really depressing for a Christmas song. But it's not unheard of, but it's still rather depressing. But the one funny thing I thought about the song was when he says that, thinking back about his love, he drinks banana daiquiris until he's blind. And then I think about the fact that how small of a man Prince is. And I'm just like, Prince, you can maybe drink 2 daiquiris at the most before you would be quote unquote blind. Okay? Let's think about it, y'all, because Prince was 5'2", and maybe at this time, maybe around 120 pounds. I think maybe at the most he may have got up to close to 130. So, you're done after 2 daiquiris, 2 banana daiquiris. You about done. So that's the one thing that I was just like, that's the only kind of funny moment from the song. Other than that, the song is a beautiful song, and I play it year round, but especially around Christmas. It's one of the first songs that I tend to listen to when we get closer to the Christmas season. And I really kind of wish that, he had done more Christmas songs. But unfortunately he didn't, because especially after he became a Jehovah's Witness, of course, and they don't celebrate any holidays. So he didn't really probably feel the need to do any Christmas songs. But I am glad that he did at least do one. So moving on. So number 6 is How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore, which the A-side is 1999. So the 1999 and Purple Rain era were probably in my opinion, when he made his best B-sides. And How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore, of course, was a couple of versions have been done. One by, of course, Alicia Keys. And then I'm trying to think of the other lady that did one. She was really close to Michael Jackson. I can't think of her name right now. But I have her face all in my head. I hate when that happens. But anyway, I did like Alicia Keys' version. And actually, for the longest, I really didn't know that, and I hate to say this, I know this is probably going to sound bad, but I did not know that this was originally a Prince song when I first heard it. And that might have been the case for some other people, so maybe I'm not, hopefully, by myself. But Alicia Keys, when this song came out, I was just like, oh, this is a really nice song. You know, and then when I did my research and I found that it was a Prince song originally, I rushed back and I listened to it and I loved it. And the one thing that I really like about this song in particular is you can actually hear, you know, his foot on the foot pedals of the piano. At least I think that's what I believe when I'm hearing, because I don't really know much about pianos or piano playing, but at least I'm honest. But that's what it sounds like. You can hear like his feet like moving on the, and for some reason I really like that. I mean, it really sounds like it makes the song even more authentic to me. But he has some of these really, really good piano ballads, and I think How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore is probably one of his best ones, if not his best piano ballad, because it's just, I mean, and then you can tell that, you know, as always, you know, he always has his passion in his voice, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is another song talking about Vanity, because this was also, I think, around the time that, you know, Vanity was getting ready to leave, or they were maybe having difficulties in their relationship, because I think she left right before Purple Rain started filming. So this could have been around the time they were having some issues in their relationship, and she may have stopped taking his calls. And so I can't think of anybody else that, you know, he would have wrote a song about this. Well, that's a lie. He had some other, you know, women at the time. But of course, you know, Vanity, I think, was the one woman that, you know, Prince never really got over. And of course, I talked about that in the episode where I talked about his love life. So won't dwell on that too much. But How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore is just a wonderful, wonderful piano ballad. And I really do think that it should have been an A-side. A lot of these songs, I feel should have been A-sides. But anyway, moving on. So number 5 is Shockadelica. The A-side being If I Was Your Girlfriend from Sign of the Times. So Shockadelica to me was a song that it actually kind of had to grow on me. I had to hear it a couple of times before I could really get into it. But after a while, I got into it because it's a really funky song. It's one of his, you know, funk hits. And it's another song that I feel like if he had decided to do a Camille album, which I know at one point he had thought about doing, that would have fit well onto it. And I know that I don't know if Jack Black, if not Jack Black, what was his name? Yeah, Jack Black, or no, Jack White. Is that his name? The guy that was going to put out the Camille album. I know that Shockadelica would have been on there. But Shockadelica also has another interesting history with Jesse Johnson. Now, Jesse Johnson, of course, was the guitarist in the time. So at this point, he was actually getting ready to put out a whole album called Shockadelica. And so Prince recorded the song and tried to give it to Jesse Johnson and say, hey, do you want this song, Shockadelica? And Jesse Johnson, of course, he was just like, no, I'm good, Prince. I'm trying to move on. I really don't. I appreciate it, but thanks, no thanks type of thing. And so Prince being Prince, and I think, like I said, he would troll Jesse endlessly, I think sometimes. He was like, well, I'm just going to put the song out if you don't want it, you know, and then that way, when people hear Shockadelica, they won't think of your album, they'll think of my song. And I know he didn't actually say this to Jesse, but I know that Jesse caught that, and that's kind of what happened. When you think of Shockadelica, I mean, some people, of course, do think of Jesse Johnson's album, and I haven't had the chance to listen to his album, so I'm gonna have to check it out at some point. But yeah, when I think of Shockadelica, I think of the song. I did not think of Jesse Johnson's album by the same name. But it's one of those songs like he's singing in the Camille high-pitched voice, And it's just a funky song. And I think that it really, really would have done good on the Black Album. Because the Black Album, which the original name was going to be the Funk Bible or something like that. And so it really would have fit well on the Black Album as well. And speaking of funky songs, number 4 is, of course, Erotic City. Erotic City's A-side is Let's Go Crazy off of Purple Rain. So for me, and I put up a live performance of Erotic City that he did during the Sign of the Times era at Paisley Park when he did like a New Year's Eve concert that Miles Davis would attend and play at. And it was a part of the package if you did the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition that they did back in 2020. That concert was on the deluxe package. So I put that up on the Facebook page because I really love how he looks in that he had on the, peach and black outfit, and his hair was all curly and beautiful. He had on a really nice pink eyeshadow that just made his eye makeup pop. But going back to the song, so the song is actually inspired by P-Funk, Parliament Funkadelic. He went to a P-Funk concert, supposedly, and then he came home and wrote this song. And so he actually talked Sheila into getting on the song with him. And Sheila was a little bit shocked by the lyrics, particularly the F word. And so she told Prince that, hey, I can't say that. I'm going to say funk instead. And so on the song, when you hear Sheila, she's actually saying, we can funk into the dawn. And Prince is saying the real word, fuck. Now, this was, of course, way before Prince stopped cursing. And so by the time, he did stop cursing and became a Jehovah's Witness, he stopped playing the song in concert, unfortunately. It is what it is on that. But Exotic City is one of those type of erotic. Did I say exotic? Erotic City is one of those songs, like I said, I didn't really care for it at first because I kind of think that it was just, Prince being raunchy. But now I can kind of listen to it and I can really kind of get into it. I like the beat to it, and especially the live version. I mean, I like the album version as well. But to me, because it was also another song where once again Prince is doing the spirituality versus sexuality. Because Let's Go Crazy, of course, is about God and fighting against the devil. And now here we go to Erotic City, all about sex and sin and all that type of thing. So once again, he's playing off of those two dichotomies that he always does. And so Erotic City was one of those. That was one of those, I guess you could say, not devil songs, but one of those, sex songs about sex and, sex for sex, because he said we can fuck into the dawn. I mean, that should speak for itself. So all about, sex and just having it and wanting it and just wanting to also just be close. Because he did mention, that he wanted to, all of his purple life, he was looking for a dame, someone to complete him. So really it was more than about sex when you see it like that. But it's also just a really good song to just jam to, despite the sexually explicit lyrics. But it was inspired by P-Funk. And when you listen to some of their lyrics, especially George Clinton, y'all know George Clinton is crazy. They have very sexually explicit lyrics. So that's where it comes from. It comes from, that vein of funk. So moving on. So number 3 is She's Always in My Hair, which the A side is Raspberry Beret on Around the World in a Day. So Raspberry Beret, well, not Raspberry Beret. I love Raspberry Beret. I talked about that on the last episode. But She's Always in My Hair was about the fabulous Jill Jones. And Jill Jones, of course, was a girlfriend of Prince at the time. And she was one of those women that I spoke about in my episode. If y'all haven't checked out the episode, The Sex of It, Prince's Love Life in the 80s, please check it out. Like I said, it's a little adult content in it. So, if you're into that kind of thing, you'll love it. But if you're kind of like, but if you're a Prince fan, I don't think, we're all grown. We've all had sex. We know how it goes, But anyway, but going back, so She's Always in My Hair was about the fact that Jill Jones, cared about Prince. Wanted the best for him. wanted to see him happy, and was just kind of always there. She was always around. And she was for a decade. Like literally, she started dating him around 1980, around the Dirty Mind tour. And they really didn't part ways till around the early 90s, about 1990. Right after I think she did Graffiti Bridge is when they kind of cut off communication for a little bit. But they remained friends, his entire life. Until he passed away, of course. But so they were around each other for a good 10, 15 years. But during this time, they kind of dated off and on because Prince, he could never just settle down with one woman. And that was the case even after he married, unfortunately. But Jill was there for a good majority of, the height of his fame during the 1980s, during the whole Purple Rain era. She was there for that. And she was just always there. And like you said, whatever he would do, no matter who he was, maybe else, sleeping with or talking to, she will still be there. Just like you said, telling me how much she cares, because she did. She wanted to see him happy, even if it wasn't with her. And I knew that Prince probably knew in his heart of hearts that he should have married her, because he says a lot, maybe I'll marry her, maybe I won't. And I think that's kind of a dick thing to say. But, like I said, in his heart of hearts, he probably knew that he should have done that he should have married her, because Jill Jones was remains such a good woman. And she was a good woman for Prince. She was one of those women that would tell Prince how it is, regardless of what he thought, or, she was just very plain spoken with him. And he needed more people like that in his life, especially toward the end of his life. He would have just needed one person to be like, hey, we need to get you some help. It is what it is. We're going to get you the help. I don't care what you say. You can fire me, whatever. He needed people like that in his life. And I really just wish that Jill Jones had been there, or someone like Jill Jones. Because had someone like Jill Jones been there, he might still be here right now. He might still be alive. But let me not get on that. But She's Always in My Hair is another banger. And I really do feel like, once again, that it could have been a very good A-side for Around the World in a Day. Because Around the World in a Day, with the exception of, I guess, maybe America, it really didn't have any, rock songs. So I think that the fact that She's Always in My Hair is much more of a rock song. I think that it would have fit very well on the album. So he decided to make it a B-side. So that is what it is. But it's a great, great song. Top B-side. So, number 2 is Irresistible Bitch. Also from 1999. The A-side being Let's Pretend We're Married, which is probably, like I said, low-key, probably my favorite song on 1999. So, Irresistible Bitch is another song that I love the drum solo in it. It was rumored that Morris Day may have played the drums on Irresistible Bitch, and I don't doubt it, because Morris Day was also a phenomenal drummer. And I also like the little bells, dun, dun, he just I like the whole arrangement of the song. And I think this is another song where he's, I don't want to say he's talking about vanity with every song, but this is definitely, it sounds like a song that, he's definitely talking about somebody. I can't really tell who, but it could be vanity. I'm not sure. But, he's saying that, at this time, she may have been talking to other men while she was, supposed to be with Prince. But they still had what they had. Like he says, people don't know what we do when we're alone. Well, they do know what you do. But, he's not worried about whatever else she might have going on. But I think for Prince, that wasn't necessarily the case, because I think he did like to keep a close watch on his women. So so that makes me think that this isn't about a woman that he knew. But just because Prince, like I said, he likes to play the victim in a lot of his songs when it comes to he's these women are doing something to him. He's not doing something to them. He's being acted upon. And so in Irresistible Bitch, she's kind of loose. She's kind of doing what she wants to do. He says, why am I so faithful, honey? And why are you so loose? Well, really, in the reality, it was probably the opposite. Okay, because Prince would date these women and they would try to be exclusive with him, but then he would be sleeping with whoever he wanted to sleep with. So that's why I don't think, but anyway, I love the song. I know that he would often perform it on the 1999 tour because it was a fan favorite. and it's still a fan favorite, and it is my number 2. So finally, drum roll. Well, not drum roll. I'm actually knocking. My number 1 is 17 Days, which the A side is When Doves Cry. Now, I told you guys a couple of episodes back that 17 Days was actually introduced to me by my husband, Gabriel, and he actually loved the song. And at first, I was just like, oh, okay, it's a nice song. But after a while, I really, really, really love this song. And I love the bass in it. I mean, the do. I mean, it's just, I mean, I love the lyrics. I mean, it's just such a great song. And initially, from what I understand, it was supposed to be for the Vanity 6 album, but he decided to just leave it as a B-side. And I'm glad that he did, because I do know that he was working with Brenda Bennett on the vocals. Like, I think Brenda actually has a unreleased a version with her vocals on it. I would love to hear that, because Brenda Bennett, out of all of the 3, she was probably the best vocalist, because Vanity, she was okay, and I don't think what is the other girl's name? Susan Moosey. I don't think Susan Moosey could sing at all. I think somebody else I think Jill Jones or somebody else might even been doing her vocals, because I don't think she could sing at all. But anyway, so 17 Days is another song of, Prince being acted upon by a woman, just like, How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore? Like, he's, painting after this woman that, he hasn't heard from in 17 days. 17 days, 17 long nights. I mean, and the beat is just fire. It's just one of those songs that you could just play over and over. Let the rain come down. The rain come down. Let the rain come down, down. Yeah, I know I can't sing, but y'all done heard my singing enough on this podcast, so y'all have just learned to deal with it, I guess, if you're still listening to my podcast at this point. But 17 Days, it's just, it deserves the top spot, because it is just an awesome, awesome song. And it's just one of those songs that if you play it enough, like, you will not get it out of your head. And he has done some really great live versions of this song. Probably the most well-known to me right now is the one that came out just last year, that he did on the Welcome to America tour that's on Facebook right now. And actually, if you type in 17 Days Live, that's the first thing that comes up. And it's just this wonderful performance of him in this, like, I think, was he wearing the gold suit or gold? I think he was. He had on like a gold lame jacket. And, he looks beautiful with his, his hair is short, and just, makeup on point, and he's just, singing his heart out live. And the band is on point as always. So if you have it, I might go ahead and put that up on the Facebook page. So that's a great version. But he's also got other great versions of the song as well. But he mixed 17 Days in with Lover Girl, because this was right after Tina Marie died. So he had Shelby J and Liv Warfield and the other lady, I'm not sure what her name is. They were all singing, I just want to be your lover girl. And then, in between singing 17 Days, let the rain. It was great. It was a great performance. 17 Days is a great song, as is When Doves Cry, the A side. And like I said, once again, that I think probably between 1999 and Purple Rain, I don't know, like, probably Purple Rain probably has a little bit of an edge when it comes to B-sides. But that was just a great time for Prince's B-sides. So now I do have an honorable mention that I'm going to mention before I end this episode, and it's Scarlet Pussy, the B-side being I Wish You Hadn't. So Scarlet Pussy is another song that I think would have done really good on the Black album, because it is a more funk driven song. And of course it's about, it's not about a red pussy. Well, yeah, it is. But of course he's, talking about a cat, a kitty cat, so called, but we know what he's talking about. So it was another one of those songs where, once again, the dichotomy between sex and spirituality, because the A side is I Wish You Heaven, which is this wonderfully beautiful song about, wishing someone the best, kind of like Purple Rain. And so in that same vein, so once again, he's going from I wish you heaven, I wish you heaven, to Scarlet Pussy. I mean, like total opposites, but that was our Prince. So I think I'm going to end it there. What are some of your favorite B-sides? I put that on the Facebook page and nobody really responded. So I would love to hear what are your B-sides and what do you think of my top 10. So once again, if you are weren't really listening or couldn't keep up, I'll just go through the top 10 again briefly. So number 10 was Hello. Number 9 was Violet the Organ Grinder. Number 8 was 200 Balloons. Number 7 was Another Lonely Christmas. Number 6 was How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore. Number 5 was Shockadelica. Number 4 was Exotic City. Number 3 was She's Always in My Hair. Number 2 was Irresistible Bitch. And number 1 was 17 Days. So I would like to hear what your favorite B-sides are. So coming up next on the podcast, I think I'm going to start on a review of Parade, which is the next album, Prince's 8th studio album. So be on the lookout for that. I also have a book review for The Beautiful Ones coming up in the near future as well. So until then, peace and be wild, and may you live to see the dawn. Bye.